Thanks very much for joining me and enjoy the practice. Today, I'm going to offer you a practice around sciatica. Now, I am not an expert in sciatica by any means. And what I'm asking you to do is as you go through these poses, you can make little adjustments and just notice what happens in your body in the pose. And one of the things I want you to do as you practice is just notice when you start to judge yourself. We're going to try to also let go of judgment. I'm going to show you with a bolster, but you can also do this pose with blankets or even with pillows. So it's great if you have a bench, a chair at home where you can start this way, where you slide off the bolster so that your shoulders are down and you bring your legs up. Now, what I want, it's a bit of a chest opener, but at the same time, I want you to notice what you're feeling if you're having a sciatic experience. So you can bring the feet wider if that helps. Another way is just to be closer in. So I'm just showing you with the bolster, but remember you can use other things as well. And if you don't have any props, you can just do this without anything. But you can bend your knees here if that's better, or bring them wider. So I want you to, or you can like have the legs, feet on the chair like this and the knees bent. So play around with which position gives you the most relief. Now this is a little bit of a chest opener, so that we're also, what I like about this pose is really feeling that integration of your abdominals. So you can put a thumb on your lower rib cage and a finger on your front ridge of your pelvis, and just notice if you notice one side feels longer or not. So we're just trying to find the evenness here. And it's also a good idea to, if your feet are together, to just flex the feet a little bit. So if I'm doing this for myself, I need to come out a little further. Anyway, so in that pose, what's great about this pose, especially if we do it against the wall too, but the chair will do, is it's really softening that front brain a little bit. It almost has a feet up the wall kind of experience. But what I want you to notice is, what's this doing to your sciatica? Do you need the modifications, or do you need the feet wider or bent? So anyway, I'm okay with my feet together, legs up, and feeling that integration into the abdominals. And then because you're getting a little chest lift, you can really take the breath into your chest when you inhale. And then you just exhale it all the way down. Inhale, it starts in the abdominals, comes up through the rib cage, up to the upper chest. And your chin, you almost have that chin walk here. And that's what helps to quiet down and soften the front of your forehead. Just do a few more rounds of breath here, letting the body settle.
can slowly bend the knees, and whatever support you've had, you can bring that away. And then come down with your feet on the floor, your knees bent. And we'll do some abdominals, but again, check in if you've got any challenges, and we'll do the modification. So the first one is bending the knees and straighten them. Now you may have a hard time with that straightening. So you may need to just keep it bent here and the legs a little bit wide and then bring down. You can still get abdominal strengthening here even if the legs aren't straight. You can also put the hands underneath the head, or you can put the hands down by your side or overhead. So it could be that you need to just bend the knees in, straight, keep them bent when you come up to straightening, and then bend down. And you can, of course, test it out. You can see, well, how straight can I make them before anything happens? But I don't want you to aggravate yourself. You need to really learn to listen to the more subtle movements in your body that might make things more comfortable and easeful, or they might aggravate it. So that's key here. So I'm doing straight legs now, but you might still be having them bend. And then do 2 more like this. And then release the legs down. And so we're going to do another little abdominal thing. And again, you can test this out in your body. And maybe one side's easier than the other. But we're going to take the ankle across the thigh and just do this simple one. Now you may find that you have to do less movement on the side where you might have a challenge, but you can also make it a little bit more intense. If it's okay on that side of the body. So we'll do 2 more. And then on your last one, when you bring the leg in, you can take the hands to the thigh. And if you're okay with this outer hip stretch, which again can be helpful to some sciatica sufferers, stay here. Now, if you need to back off, just back off and just go to where you can find a bit of ease and comfort. Because this is going to stretch out that outer hip and keep the pelvis and back pretty even on the floor. And then bring the legs down, change sides, take the other ankle up. And again, just notice how far you can go with ease. And again, you can bring the arms overhead. You can interlock the fingers under the head, whichever works for you. And because I'm always losing track of count, if you counted on the other side, make sure you count on this side. And again, you may only have this kind of range of movement, but do what feels right to you. And again, just notice if you've been judging yourself in any way. And then leave up the leg, and then again, bring the hands to the thigh. And again, you can either, press closer in if you don't have any discomfort or major discomfort, or back off. So in yoga poses, you're always trying to find your edge where you can handle it, where it might be a challenge, but you don't want to be injuring yourself or making yourself worse. And then release that side and come to being on big toes together, knees wide. And what I want you to do, and this is simple if you have a belt or like my little thing like this, or I'll show you first with the towel. You can take the towel and you can roll it up, put it right here on your hips. And I have the knees wide, and we're just gonna play around with how far wide your knees need to go. And then you use the arms, so you get some arm action here as you come forward, and see what happens in your hips. Your hips may need to be a little bit higher. But see, this helps you even out those hips. And actually, the towel works pretty well. I'm not sure if I would like the belt any better. Now you can play with bringing the knees a little closer and see what happens when you come forward. You might start to feel something, and that might not be right. So you can have them wide and then just bring them an inch closer to each other and see what happens. So this is about stretching the thighs away from the lower back and the sit bones. And of course, if I was there in person, I would be helping to create this kind of space. And then, well, actually, you can just leave that there. And if you've got the legs wide, you're just gonna now take the hands forward and walk them over to the left side, and just notice how this is for you. You can stay up higher if there's a little discomfort, or you can bring the forehead towards the floor. And slowly walk the hands to the other side. So for me, this is my right side. And of course, this is where if you had a pillow, you could put a pillow under your head if you needed some support there. And then just stretch over to that side. And again, if you need to be higher because you're feeling some discomfort, or if the hips need to be up higher, you can do that. And then come slowly back up. That felt pretty good. I like that. No matter if you have sciatica or not, feels good. So now just come on to your hands and knees, and we're just going to do a little bit of pelvic circles here. And again, you can go and do this really small, or you can try to make it larger to go through the spine, and just notice if there's an area that's more challenged, and you can make it a smaller spiral. So if you only can be right here doing that circle, stay there. If you want to go a little bit further and really press the hands down, you can start to feel it coming through the shoulders and the head and the neck. And then slowly come around the other way. come into cat dog. Do a little bit, just rounding the spine. And notice if there's any discomfort here. And you can always modify it and do less in the direction where you might be challenged. But the nice thing about this pose is it really is trying to create space between the vertebrae and stretch through the muscles on the back so that your lower back and pelvis can have more mobility, and that's going to help with the sciatica, stretching out areas there. And then again, I wish I could put the towel around, but I can't hold it in downward dog. But come into downward dog, tuck the toes under, and then see what happens to your sciatica here. What you might need to do is really bring the feet wide, like to the edges of your mat, and see what happens there. And then move the feet a little closer into each other, so like a foot apart. See what happens there. And then you can bring them a little bit closer if you'd like to see how that is. But if you notice some discomfort, stay in that wider legged downward dog. And of course, you can also deal with the discomfort if you have some by bending the knees. But you still want to really press the armpits there. So those are a few choices there. And then come down onto, just be up on your shins. And this is where your belt or towel could come in handy. So I'll just start with my left leg since it's easier for me to look at you and talk. So I'm going to come up in my left leg and I'm going to put the towel in front, and then I'm going to lunge. I'm just going to lengthen my arms down. I'm not going to like pull back like I did in that first pose. The other thing you can do with the towel is really press on that front thigh. Give you a little bit more weight there. The nice thing about having it in front is you're trying to keep that pelvis even. You have something to lean into. I suppose you could pull it behind you. All right, yeah, a few options. You can pull it behind you. You can press it down on the thigh, or you can just have the arms right next to you. And then slowly come up with that leg. And then bring the other leg forward. And again, the three choices are having the towel in front and pulling it down, pulling it back, or pressing down on that front thigh. And then bring that leg behind you and come into all fours, and then just swing one leg forward and see if you can extend that back leg and then have it come forward and come up. See if that helps. If that feels really uncomfortable, come up with bent knees the best way you can. I'm going to use my belt, but again, you can use your towel with some of these poses. Or maybe I'll just use my, well, I'll show with the belt and with arm, I'll show a couple of options. So if you stand at the front of your mat with the legs wide, and with sciatica, it's important to keep space between the feet. And even if you need to go a little bit wider, you can. But the thing that will be impossible probably to do with sciatica is straight-legged Uttanasana. So that will probably totally aggravate it. So stand with the feet as close to hip width as possible. And then inhale that, just bend at that right leg and bring it back behind you into warrior one pose. Now, here's two different ways to use the arms. You can bend, I'll show you this way. Bend the hand behind you into the pelvis, and you can hold the wrist. Or you can take the belt or the towel and again press down like this, or even press the thigh down like that. So whichever way you are going to practice it, see if you can straighten the back leg. Now again, if you can't straighten the back leg because something's bugging you, then bend that knee. And then slowly bring that back foot in. And then inhale the left leg up. Slowly take it behind you. This will bring the right arm behind the pelvis, holding onto the left arm that's long behind you. And then bend. Or you can use the belt. What you're trying to do is get more awareness in the lower back and the back of the pelvis. If you need to bend the knee, you can. And then slowly put the hands on the hips and bring that leg forward. And I'm just going to turn this way because you can see better. See if you can bring the right leg up and just hold in front of the shin. Now again, if this is too difficult, you can lower it down, or you can hold under the thigh just to feel where your comfort is in this balance, because you don't want to be distorting your hips. And then bring that leg down. But it's also a way to create space in the lower back. So that's why we're doing this standing. And then slowly bend the other leg up. And again, if you can hold the shin, hold the shin. If not, hold under the thigh. As you're trying to keep the hips level. Now you can have it lower if you need to. Again, this is all about finding what's working for you in these poses. And we might as well, because we're here. So slowly bring that knee up to start with. You can hold the shin and then see if you can bring it to the side into tree. Now, if that's bringing challenges, you can bring the foot down. You can have it as low as your ankle. If it's really challenging in the sciatica. So this is where you've got a place to practice for your level. So if you can bring it up and then bring it in, see if that works. If you can't, you can bring it to the calf muscle or the ankle. You can also keep your hands on the pelvis. And actually what's really useful is hands on the pelvis, thumbs right here in the lower back, creating length here. So that's just a demonstration of how you can work with this. So with the other side,
See if you can bring that shin up and then turn the knee out. Foot can come into tree. If that's uncomfortable, bring the foot down to the calf muscle or the ankle. And again, the thumbs, so the fingers are around the side of the pelvis, but the thumbs are lengthening the lower back down. And then it can come up if you're comfortable, if you've got some ease there. And then bring that foot down. And we'll stand in Tadasana. And then just notice how you are in Tadasana. Just pay attention to what are you feeling in the hips, what are you feeling in the backs of the legs, and what happens when you inhale the arms up. Does that give you more aggravation? Or does that feel okay? The other thing to test is what if you inhale the arms out to the side, turn the palms up, bring the arms up. What does that do for you? Does that change it in any way? And then exhale the arms down. And just notice, can you stand in Tadasana comfortably, or is there aggravation? Do you need to kind of soften the knees and put the hands on the hips? Does that help? Because another thing you can play with, of course, is the fingers here, and then just playing with straightening the legs and noticing how straight you can be. So it's just a little bend and straight. So you can play around with that and see what happens. And we'll do one more standing pose for the power of it, but also I'll show you a variation with the belt. So I'll have you step wide, because if you have sciatica, the jumping might be a challenge. You can keep the knees bent. So then I'll do the mirror image. So take the left foot toe to heel, right foot heel to toe. And as we bend into Parsvottanasana, if you have a belt or a towel, you can put it on the thigh that's going to bend, and then I'll turn around and show you from this angle. You're really taking the belt to bring that sit bone underneath you so that it's not sticking out like this. So I'll turn around and look at you. But you can also, so you're using the arm to pull the belt down, but also underneath, or pull the sit bone underneath. But also the towel can work for this as well. You just wrap it around and you've got something to pull. And then inhale, slowly come up, soften the knees to bring them around to the other side. That's why I pulled out a beach towel, because most of you will have some kind of towels at home. I used to teach kids in a school in New Zealand many years ago, and I just asked everybody to bring a towel, and then we could use that for various props. So now come to the other side, and again, pulling that sit bone underneath you, that hip. And then slowly come up, bring the feet together, and then come back down to your knees again. And you've got a few choices here, like if you wanted a block underneath your leg. So I'm gonna take, you can, let's see, yeah, I'll be mirror image again, bringing the left leg out. So you can have the foot bent or the foot on the floor. And you can also bring it quite a bit in front of you, you know, because most of us don't have a 180-degree turnout like this. So I need to come here, but even then you can bring it further in front of you if that works for you. You can also put something under that knee so that the knee is not uncomfortable. I'm going to go to where I'm okay, but you can change. And then we'll do the Perigosina gate pose. So bring the arms out, inhale them up, and then bring the hand down and the arm up. So here you can, we're doing a little bit of a side body stretch, but just check into where you feeling discomfort or comfort. You can bring the hand down. You don't have to go as deep. So those are ways to modify the pose. And then inhale, slowly come up, bring that foot in, and then bring the other foot out. And again, you've got choices. You can have the foot flexed. You can put it onto something if you want more height. You can bring it further in front of you if that helps you with your hips, because we're trying to help guide the hips to be quite even, and that's going to help sciatica too. So things in the sacrum, lower back, sit bones, all of that area is impacted by sciatica. So then inhale the arms up to the side, exhale there, inhale the palms up, and just go to where it works for you. So we're getting this lovely side stretch, but you might need to back off, come up higher, or bring the arm down and just ease into it, whichever way works for you. And then inhale, slowly come up. And I'll just show you a little camel variation on the chair, but it doesn't mean that you have to do it. You can also put blocks next to you like this to come into it. But essentially what we're trying to do, stretch the pelvis the other way, is coming this way. And with a chair, and any kind of chair will do. You don't need a yoga chair. I just happen to have one. You just bring your hands here and really press the pelvis forward and lift the chest up. We're not going to go very deep into this. But you can also play around with it this way. Like the arms were before, we'll do it on both sides, is you can hold that hand, and so that arm's pressing the pelvis forward. Chin to the chest, and you change arms so that you're getting support with that forearm. I'll show you this direction. Chin to the chest. And then we'll go into a little bit of Shavasana. So whatever, with sciatica, it's a good idea to either have a bolster so you can elevate, or a blanket or a rolled towel, so you can elevate the legs and the pelvis can just be on the floor. Or again, you can, have the legs on the chair, or you can put something under and give yourself a little bit of lift here if you want to put something under your sacrum to have
more like feet up the wall, if your pelvis can and leg can handle that. Probably if you did full feet up the wall in the beginning with the legs straight, it might aggravate it. So it's better to start with the knees bent. So whichever way you choose, bring yourself into Shavasana. And I'll come closer to the camera for Shavasana. Now notice if you were judging yourself at any time in the class. Did you start to let go of being a judge? And start to soften your breath. And then notice what's happening in the leg and the pelvis, particularly where you might have had a bit of sciatica. Just notice what's happening in that part right now. And see if you can imagine the breath moving into that spot. And also see if you can feel the breath moving into those thigh sockets where your legs meet the hips. See if you can feel the breath move into the sit bones, which are at the bottom of your pelvis. And of course, you can always just imagine your breath going out there if it's difficult to actually have a felt experience of it. Now see if you can feel the breath breathing your sacrum so that it widens and expands a little bit on the inhale and it softens on the exhale. And then see if you can notice the hamstrings. As you inhale, can you feel them soften into whichever direction you're in? Maybe they're softening into a blanket or a chair or into the space near the chair. See if you can feel the hamstrings soften from the back of the knees into the sit bones. And then focus your breath up in your chest area, your sternum. See if you can feel those collarbones really widen as you inhale and soften in towards the midline as you exhale. Widen as you inhale, soften as you exhale. See if you can feel the shoulder blades doing the same thing. When you inhale, they widen and spread. And when they exhale, they come towards the midline and lengthen. And then notice the top of the shoulder blades. See if you can feel the breath move there and soften the tops of the shoulders.
Inhale, the breath moves into the upper shoulders there, and when you exhale, it all softens on that upper edge of your shoulder blades. And then see if you can feel your face begin to soften back to your ears and the back of your head. And then slowly begin to deepen your breath, bringing a bit of movement to your fingers, toes, hands, feet. You can do a bit of stretch, finding your way to roll to your side and to slowly, without effort, really rolling your way up to sitting. And I hope that you've allowed the judge a little bit of space today, and maybe throughout your day you can just notice when the judge kind of comes in to judge you and maybe say, "Thank you very much, not right now." So have a beautiful day, and I hope this practice was helpful. And namaste.